Back here on WEEI Afternoons, we go right to the guest line for our weekly chat with Mark Schlereth. We're joined by the Odyssey NFL insider, host of the Stinkin Truth Podcast. Listen to the Stinkin Truth Podcast now on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide for your insurance and financial needs. Nationwide is on your side. Mr. Schlereth, how are we doing this week?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Well, it feels a little like Groundhog Day. We talk to you every week, and it's usually coming off an impressive Patriots win. So I guess we start there. Post-game show on Sunday night, I called the win in Tampa Bay validating for this football team. Would you agree with that term, and did they even need the validation?
I think it's a great term. And, yeah, because I think there was a lot of people that were concerned. I think there were a lot of people not so much concerned, but just, are they as good as we think they might be? We're not 100% sure yet. I think a win like they did on Sunday, I think that validates them. I think they are a legitimate team. I wouldn't argue if somebody wanted to say they're the best team in the AFC right now. I would not argue that fact. They've got the best record, but I think they're playing better than Indy right now. I think they're playing better right now in the AFC than Denver is, for sure, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So I think that's a fair assessment of kind of where they are right now.
I got to get your reaction to something that we were talking about just a few moments ago. Pro Football Talk and their weekly rankings posited the question: are the Patriots at the front of their next dynasty? It seems a little bit strong, but Andy was arguing that maybe there is something there. Are there elements to this Patriots team that would suggest that this kind of success could be sustained long term?
Well, sure. I mean, I think one, from a coaching standpoint, you know, when you saw Henderson running down the sideline and looking over to Mike Vrabel to say, hey, can I score or should I go down? Like, that just goes to show you the kind of connection between coaching and players. It also shows you it's just the belief, the trust, and the relational aspect that I think is so important in the game of football. So I think that was just big. I've never seen that before. And I thought it was really cool to watch that kind of transpire there in a pivotal moment at the end of the game. So I thought that was a big time kind of connection to the way Vrabel coaches this team. And then I think there's a couple of things that always resonate with me. You know, when Mike Vrabel's in charge, you're going to play physical. That to me is the difference between winning and losing in this league, is controlling the line of scrimmage. When you do that on a consistent basis, you're always going to have a chance to be in games. And then ultimately you've got a young quarterback who's playing at an incredibly high level. And the last Patriots game I did was the one against the Cleveland Browns, where talking to Josh McDaniels is saying, hey, man, Drake May is playing at such a high level. He's such a student of the game, insatiable appetite for information. And he hasn't even scratched the surface how good he can be. And so you look at all those factors and you're looking at them going, like, why wouldn't they flip the script and become a dynasty once again under Mike Vrabel? Certainly, I think you've got the makings of a team that could certainly do that.
Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide for your insurance and financial needs. Nationwide is on your side. So I'm going to ask you to take the opposite side. If you were going to argue why the Patriots aren't one of the best teams in the AFC, why they probably won't go to a Super Bowl, why this season will end up disappointing or coming up a little short, what do you think the reasons would be?
Well, right now, I mean, I don't think there's the chance. I mean, they've already exceeded expectations, I would imagine, with most people. So I think it's already been a win. I think obviously when you get into the playoffs, you're going to play against teams that have playoff experience. And a lot of people would sit there and say, hey, man, you've got to kind of learn to win. You've got to take some lumps when you get to that point of the season so that you can learn, how to go about that, how to win those playoff games. So I think there's always that aspect of it. But I don't know that I can really argue. I look at them and the way they're playing right now, and I can't argue that they are, if not the best, one of the top three teams in the AFC without question. So, what will derail them? Injuries? You get into the playoffs and and you make some mistakes because of the intensity of the playoff atmosphere, and you got to learn how to deal with that. But they're a damn good football team.
Mark, last week, Drake May, during his media availability, was asked about taking sacks, taking hits, so something that he's kind of want to do, and mentioned that a lot of the sacks that he takes are on him. So in the games that you've seen, both broadcasting and just watching this team, what do you make of the ongoing relationship between the offensive line and Drake? And is there something, too, maybe he needs to be a little bit more cognizant that some of the sacks are indeed on him?
Yeah, I think sacks are a quarterback-driven statistic. I think the majority of sacks in this league are play calling and quarterback play. And obviously, there's a combination. Offensive line is part of that as well. Running backs are part of that. Tight ends, receivers. I mean, everybody has a bit of responsibility in that. But, there's part of it where you're holding the ball and you take a sack when the ball should be out. But sometimes those are where the big plays happen as well. So, I think the other thing in talking to Josh McDaniels, like getting through your progressions and getting off the front side onto the back side, getting to that third in the progression or getting to the check down a little bit earlier. That's part of the learning curve where I think there's still so much growth for Drake. So, that's going to be part of learning how to play this game efficiently and at an incredibly high level. And listen, the way he's throwing the ball deep, the big plays that he's making, the ability to get yourself out of trouble and scramble a little bit, I'll give up some sacks for the big plays and the great things that are happening that he is directly responsible for.
Mark, I want to rewind to last Tuesday. We talked to you earlier on before the trade deadline passed in the NFL. Patriots didn't end up adding anyone. They go out there on Sunday, have a great win. And I was just wondering why you think or how you think reaction to trade deadlines play out in an NFL locker room. We often talk about the Red Sox post-trade deadline. They don't add anybody. It seems like they go on a losing streak and all the players are sulking. And why didn't they invest in us? They don't believe in us. Does any of that happen in an NFL locker room, or is it just different?
It's just different. And I think a lot of it is baseball is such an individualistic sport, right? It's you against the pitcher. There's one player can make a huge difference. In football, it's the ultimate team game, and I think it's really one of those situations where you've got to look at not only what a dude brings into your locker room and how that guy affects your locker room, but does he fit the culture that we've created? And I think it's really kind of an iffy situation from the standpoint of how much does this guy bring, from a value standpoint, and what does he take away from a chemistry and working together standpoint. So I think that's a really tricky thing to sit there and go, hey, man, we just need a talent. We just need to add a player. So NFL locker rooms are way different than baseball. It's so much more the ultimate team game that you've got to take all those other factors into consideration before you pull the trigger on a trade.
Well, Mark, no team more active at the trade deadline and in tearing it down and recouping assets than the New York Jets. The Pats seeing the Jets this Thursday. Your perspective on that matchup, and is there any kind of chance, because the pessimistic Patriots fans are wondering, any chance for trap game potential given the short week for the Pats?
I wouldn't think so. I think they're riding high right now, and they're just a much better football team than New York Jets. So, I wouldn't look at that and say, oh, it's a potential trap game. Listen, playing in the NFL is hard. Everybody's going to play, and they're all professionals and all that, baloney. But the Patriots ultimately are a much better football team than the New York Jets, and so. I wouldn't think there would be an opportunity to have a trap game. I think Mike Vrabel will have his guys ready. And, by the looks of things and by the way they're playing right now, there's a genuine excitement for what they're doing inside their own, organization. And so, yeah, I would look at that and say, no, I just don't think the Jets are a quality football team compared to what the New England Patriots are putting on film week in and week out.
Before we let you go, Mark, you once called Mike Vrabel a salty biatch on this show. He's a bit of a hardo, and yet this week we saw the cameras catch him holding the hand of Christian Barmore, one of his defensive players, when he was down hurt on the field. Is there a much softer side to Mike Vrabel that you're seeing that maybe surprises you, or we didn't know was there?
No, I think Mike Vrabel is like. I don't want to call him sensitive, but I think Mike Vrabel is a guy that is very relational with his players. We see the hard side, but his players see the hard side of Mike Vrabel. We're going to do things right. We're going to do them the right way. We're going to work hard. We're going to do attention to detail is big, and he will harp and grind on that. But he's also very relational with those guys, and I think that's what makes him. I think that's what makes him so special. I think that's what makes him a great coach. Is that he can separate that relational side of who he is and what he believes in, and that hard ass. We got to get the job done, and so we're going to go out here and we're going to get that done. And so, I just respect what he's doing right now as a coach. I respect them as a franchise for what they're doing. I think it's cool to watch.
All right, Mark, appreciate the thoughts, and we will talk to you next week.
Sounds good, guys. Be well.
See you, Mark. That was Odyssey NFL insider Mark Schlereth, host of the Stinkin Truth Podcast. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side. Remember to listen to the Stinkin Truth Podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.